Okay, go ahead. We're gonna come.
All right. Jay. Okay. All right. Is the media ready? Okay. All right. All right. Well, good afternoon. I first want to recognize and thank the entire staff here at GOHSEP. This team has been working around the clock nonstop. And of course, them along with Louisiana State Police, Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries, Probation and Parole, and all of our law enforcement agencies and first responders that guided us through the New Year's Day terror attack. You know, we continue to pray for all of those that were affected by that event. I want to, of course, congratulate the new president, President Donald Trump. I thought his speech was absolutely fantastic. And while Sharon and I left D.C. very early this morning and were unable to make the inauguration ceremony, I want the citizens of the state to know that their safety is a top priority of mine. Over the past 8 days, we have been preparing for the approach of this winter event. I've been on the phone and in contact with each of the agencies who have a primary mission to keep our citizens safe. Yesterday, we allowed the media to join in on a statewide emergency conference call. That's a conference call that Jacques and them have with all of the parish EOCs. Allowing the media on that call was a very highly unusual event, and it should speak volumes for the gravity of what we're dealing with today. In a moment, I'm going to bring Jay Grimes up, and he is going to discuss in more details what we are likely to be dealing with. It is important for you to listen very carefully to the information that Jay is going to put out. He is going to explain in much greater detail that we may have over 48 hours of constant below freezing temperatures, along with extremely cold wind chills, and what could possibly be near record amounts of snowfall in South Louisiana. This creates a very dangerous situation, not only for travel, but for people, pipes, pets, and plants. And so we are urging the public to go to virtual.la.gov. There under the weather resources section, you can find important information about the upcoming winter event, how it can affect you, which includes warming shelters for those with inadequate shelters or that are homeless. Of course, all other citizens as well, we urge them to download the Get a Game Plan app. It works in conjunction with the virtual.la.gov website. So let's talk about people and some heating safety precautions. We want all of our citizens to make sure that their heating systems are working properly and that they are properly ventilated. If you're using a fireplace or a chimney, make sure that it is functioning properly. Do not use gas or electric stoves or ovens to heat your homes. I repeat, do not use your gas or electric stoves or ovens to heat your home. A gas oven can lead to carbon monoxide poisoning. Electric ovens are not designed to heat your home. Both of them increase the likelihood of fire. If there is ever a time to ensure that your smoke detector or your carbon monoxide detectors in your home are functioning properly and that they're working and the batteries are charged, check them now. Change the batteries. Symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning include headache, dizziness, weakness, upset stomach, vomiting, chest pain, and confusion. If you begin to or see someone in your home exhibiting those, get fresh air in your home immediately. Space heater safety. If you are using a space heater to heat your home, follow these steps. Put the space heater on the floor and leave it there. Keep it away from water. Keep it at least 3 feet away from anything that is flammable, including furniture, curtains, and the wall. Never leave that space heater unattended in your room, which means that when you go to bed, turn the space heater off. Get an extra blanket. Plug the space heater directly into the wall. Do not plug it into a surge protector. Additional tips should include checking on your neighbors and especially the elderly. Make sure that you are protecting your outdoor pipes, bring plants and pets in, and take all other necessary precautions that you can find on the website I mentioned earlier. This is also important for our citizens to understand that this event will most likely affect their water supply. Since we issued a state of emergency on January the 18th, we have continued to work with every department, local and state officials, FEMA, and I spoke before I left yesterday with some of President Trump's staffers. I want to thank Governor Sarah Sanders of Arkansas and her staff, who have continued to pour resources into our state to help us with this incoming weather event. If you don't remember, Arkansas just went through a somewhat similar weather event with large amounts of snowfall that affected Arkansas. I was with Sarah in D.C., and she was more than happy to turn those resources over to us. And again, I want to thank her. Specifically, Arkansas has sent us 12 tri-axle dump trucks with 12-inch snow plows and 10 cubic yard salt spreaders and 24 drivers. They sent us 4 one-ton trucks with 8-inch snow plows and 1.5 cubic yard salt spreaders and 8 drivers, 16 half-ton four-wheel drive support trucks, 2 half-ton four-wheel drive trucks, 2 supervisors to man these crews, 8 semi-trucks with 5,000-gallon brine tankers, trailers, and drivers, 2 field mechanic trucks, and 4 mechanics. That's important. And they also have complemented our GOHSEP staff here with 2 administrative officials and 1 logistics support official as well. In addition to these assets, the Department of Transportation has 10 million pounds of salt, 125,000 gallons of brine, 2,000 tons of sand, 385 salt spreaders, 92 powered sweepers, 50 motor graders, and 87 spray systems. For road closure information, you can go to 511la.org. That's 511la.org, or simply go again to the website I mentioned earlier, which was virtual.la.gov. And this information can also be found on Get a Game Plan app. Now, look, remember, again, this event is going to affect southern Louisiana, the I-10, I-12 corridor. Louisiana has the 4 longest bridges over water. This is not the kind of event that treats those bridges kindly. This event, again, is going to primarily affect the I-10, I-12 corridor. It is most likely going to result in Mississippi River Bridge closures. So those who depend on the Mississippi River bridges, they most likely will be closed during this event. Remember that the state is responsible for state highways, but our local parish governments take care of their roads, which make up the vast majority of the roads our citizens and you all are traversing. We ask that you be patient with the parish and local governments as we work with them to clear the roads and the bridges. Let me emphasize this. The state has been working for over 8 days to do everything in its power to prepare for this winter storm. And I urge you to please heed what we are saying and what your local officials are saying as well. It is extremely important to stay off the road. Unless you absolutely need to be on the road, stay at home and stay warm. And again, remember to heed the heating precautions and to take care of your pipes. The assets that I talked about earlier are going to be complemented with rescue and recovery equipment by the Louisiana State Police, the Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries, and the Louisiana National Guard and other state agencies. And as always, the Louisiana Sheriff's Association is working diligently with each one of our parish sheriffs and their deputies. State offices will be closed Tuesday and Wednesday at this time. Again, I would urge you all, remember that it's better to be over-prepared than caught off guard. And so again, please go to Get a Game Plan, the Get a Game Plan app, or go to virtual.la.gov for more information. At this time, I'd like to bring our climatologist, Jay Grimes, up. Jay.
Thank you, Governor. Governor, over the last day or two, a lot of people have asked me, is this really happening? Louisiana, this is definitely happening. You need to get ready right now. We've had big snowstorms in South Louisiana over the last 10 to 15 years, but they've been localized. This time we're talking about 4 inches of snow or more, essentially from the Sabine all the way over to the Pearl. We haven't seen a storm like that in South Louisiana since the 60s. So many of you have never seen an event like this in terms of both the amount of snow that's going to fall, the fact that most of it will fall in 12 hours or less, and the fact that it's going to cover such a broad swath of the southern part of the state. It's going to extend from the coast all the way up to Alexandria. The impacts there are going to be crippling from a travel standpoint. You're not going to be able to move hardly at all on Tuesday once the snow begins. And folks, I would go ahead, if you haven't finished your preps yet, do them this evening and be ready to stay essentially housebound, not just Tuesday, but Wednesday and even into Thursday. Travel, especially in the back roads and some of the rural areas, certainly is going to be limited, if not completely hampered, through Thursday midday. There's a couple of reasons for that. First off, we're talking about these big snow totals. 4 inches widespread with some 5 and 6 to 7 inch totals along and near the I-1012 corridor. And I would not be surprised if we get some reports of totals that are approaching double digits. In fact, a worst case scenario is that we could see some widespread 8 to 10 inch to 12 inch totals. So you need to be prepared for that. The fact of the matter is, once we get above that 4 inch critical threshold, that really shuts down the state, at least for a day or two. So be prepared to stay at home. Don't get out. The other story here is that's probably not getting enough attention is, as the governor pointed out, how bitterly cold it's going to get. For many of you, you're going to go below freezing in the next handful of hours. And for some of you, you may not get above freezing all the way until Thursday morning. If you do climb above freezing, it'll be small windows, possibly on Tuesday, maybe on Wednesday. But as the governor pointed out, many of you are going to be looking at freezing temperatures for durations of 48 hours or more. And even after that 48-hour spell, we're going to have freezes Thursday morning into Friday. And some of you could have freezes again, even late Friday into early Saturday. The freezing temperatures are going to be a statewide problem. Even though folks up near and north of the I-20 corridor may not have to deal with snow, they're still going to be dealing with these prolonged, bitterly cold temperatures. And remember, the numbers I'm giving you here with temperatures minimums in the teens and low 20s, that's the temperature. When we factor in the wind, especially on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, many of you could be looking at wind chills in the single digits for a string of hours. Please get prepared for that. Most of our homes aren't designed for that. Make sure you've got your pipes wrapped. Do all the precautions. Don't forget to allow the faucets to drip if you need to do that, because widespread power outages as well as impacts to frozen pipes are going to be an issue across the state. And in fact, the governor and I were just talking a little bit ago. This is going to be a weird situation. Things actually could be colder for a number of days in the southern parishes than they will be in North Louisiana. Most of us haven't experienced this combination of bitter cold and significant snow ever in our lifetimes. So folks, take those precautions, take this event seriously, get ready this evening, because you won't have another opportunity until Thursday. Thank you, Governor.
Okay. Thank you, Jay. I'd like to bring up the Secretary of Department of Transportation, Joe Donahue, to talk about the plan that they have put in place for our highways, interstate system, and the U.S. highways. Joe.
Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon, everyone. First off, I would like to just reiterate what the Governor and Jay said. This is a very serious event. I'd like to assure everyone that we are as prepared as we could be, particularly with the assistance from the state of Arkansas, but there will be road closures throughout the event. We have been on 24-hour operations for quite some time now. We have pre-treated more streets and roads in the state of Louisiana than has ever been previously done. But we are going to have road closures. And so just wanted to give you an idea of how we are going to go about this, how we view this. As conditions begin to worsen, we are going to focus our efforts on the U.S. routes, as the Governor mentioned, and the interstate highways. There's going to be a point where the conditions have worsened to a point where it is not safe to travel along portions, particularly of I-10. And we will begin closing those portions. We have identified designated alternative routes and those priority routes that we are going to be working throughout the event to keep clear and keep vehicles able to travel through those. Once the precipitation has ended, we will begin focusing those efforts to reopen the highways in the same order. So we will focus on the interstates, the U.S. highways, and then the other roadways within the state highway system after that. With assistance again from Arkansas, we have equipment that we would not normally have in our inventory, and we'll be able to push snow off of the roads and treat those both during the precipitation and after the event has ended. And so we are hoping that we will have a quick return to full mobility. But as Jay mentioned, we will have another long extended period of freeze. And so there is the possibility of refreeze. So once everyone gets home this evening, please plan to stay off of the roads, plan to stay in place until we give the all clear to be able to travel. Thank you, Governor.
All right. Before we take any questions, again, look, I think that the citizens out there should realize that they can expect this some disruption in their water supply. They may expect some power outages. The more this is a snow event rather than a freezing rain event, certainly lends us to less power outages. But again, this is a winter storm, and Jay continues to remind me that these are the hardest ones to predict. So everything we're giving you out here today could change again. However, if you are prepared and you heed the warnings and advice that we place on the virtual.la.gov website or the Get a Game Plan app, I believe everyone can get through this event very safely. Look, this is the time when you can cook you a big pot of gumbo and it'll go over well for the next couple of days. You just put it outside and you won't even have to put it in the freezer or the refrigerator. Just take it back in when you're ready to eat again. So we want everybody to stay safe, stay warm, but certainly stay off the roads as well. And so with that, I'll take any questions that y'all may have. Yes, sir.
With the Super Bowl just around the corner, with this storm event being of its historic nature, is there any concern that it could delay any preparations for the big game?
No, not at all. Look, one of the reasons I was in D.C. this week was working with the now Trump administration, spent a lot of time with Kristi Noem, who I'm hoping and have urged senators to confirm in the next 24 to 48 hours. Met with Kash Patel, who's the incoming, hopefully he'll be confirmed, FBI Director Pam Bondi. Again, if the Senate confirms him, the new U.S. Attorney General, those are the three people most important to Louisiana in Super Bowl preparation. I think the people of Louisiana should recognize, again, that's why I started with thanking GOHSEP. The folks behind me have literally been working around the clock, certainly since the New Year's terror attack, to ensure that the safety of New Orleans and that we can put on the Super Bowl event, in addition to having to deal with weather events like we're talking today. But I feel comfortable we're on a great trajectory. Yes.
Governor, can you have said people might lose, might have problems with their water? Can you specify, is there any place that people can pick up drinking water?
Well, again, depending upon if we get to that, I know that the National Guard is prepared to get water out there. Again, here's what is important to remember: we can only get that water to them if the roads are clear. Again, these are one of these events where you should be prepared to have adequate water supplies in your home and not rely on your municipal water supply to feed that.
So you should be prepared to have water on hand.
Yes, yes. In the old days, they tell you fill your tub up, right, Jay?
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Governor, for the students who have traveled into state from Louisiana, out of state to Louisiana for like school, university, and everything, and who may not be able to get those adequate resources because of lack of a car or living in a dorm, what advice do you have for them?
Well, again, my hope, and I'm glad you brought that up, certainly we'll be checking with the university leadership to ensure that we're adequately supplying the resources necessary for those students as well. I would have them turn towards their university leadership and those schools to make sure that if they believe they don't have adequate resources or don't have proper sheltering or whatnot, that the school takes care of them. Of course, for those students who come from the northern states, I'm sure that they may be able to give us some advice.
So a question, I know much of the concerns about travel safety, certain roads being blocked. Has there been discussion of possibly setting a curfew as far as being on the roads?
I heard that there are some municipalities that are talking about some curfews. Again, I would leave that up to our local officials. And that's why we urge citizens to pay heed not only to the advice that we're giving and the information that we're putting out, but the information that's being put out by the parishes and the municipalities as well. Or, sure, one more.
Governor, this week or maybe last week, I'm losing track of days, Speaker Johnson
You and me both.
indicated that California wildfire relief from the federal government should maybe be contingent on raising the debt ceiling or other factors if we're facing a weather event. Do you believe that federal support for disaster relief should be contingent on other factors or have strings attached to it?
Well, look, I think it is important to remember that certainly the federal government has the ability to add strings. They do it all the time to things that we don't like. However, that's nothing new. I don't think that the things that Speaker Johnson is talking about are things that are new to disaster aid. We're used to that. FEMA many times adds conditions, especially to some of the relief that we get for hurricanes, like requiring us to elevate our homes and whatnot along the coast. I think that the strings that they're talking about up in Washington, D.C. are tied to ensuring that California has the resources necessary to fight the fire so we don't have the destruction that they have. I think that as long as what Congress puts in place is attributable to the disaster, then that certainly is reasonable. But I would leave that up to Speaker Johnson and the President and the Senate to determine that. Look, I think that we have seen our share of severe weather events. We're in one right now. I have a lot of confidence in the people of the state to be very resilient. I am extremely confident that if they heed the cautions that we're putting out, and if you stay off the road and stay warm and cook a big pot of gumbo, you're going to be fine come hopefully Friday. Where's Jay? Maybe even Thursday. Okay, please stay tuned to your local news outlets for more information. And again, we urge you to go to virtual.la.gov where you can find all of the information regarding this weather event. Thank you.